It's time to go balls deep.
The EA Sports College Football Headquarters podcast.
Yeah, buddy. Thank you guys for tuning in to our first ever live episode of the Balls Deep podcast. You see the way we make the magic happen, or almost don't
the
make
lack
the magic
of
happen.
magic. Yeah. Welcome back to Roll Room Studio, and thank you for joining us, everybody. Remember to hit that like, subscribe, follow button, leave a rating. Help us out here, man. We're fucking dying because it's tough to get a podcast off the ground from zero. And that's what we've been doing. And now this is, we're 30 plus episodes in and our audience keeps growing, but we need you guys to help us. Help us out, okay?
Yeah, that we do. Right. And so what helps too to make everything run is our sponsors.
Yes, right.
So we have Just the Tip coming up, and it is sponsored by Busted Nut Face and Body Lotion.
This is a brand new sponsor of ours.
It is brand new.
Sponsor.
Yeah, brought to us by one of our listeners, helped to hook us up with this sponsor.
Yep,
yeah,
absolutely.
So
Put us in touch with them, and now they are one of our sponsors.
So let me get to the ad copy.
Okay, let's do it.
This episode of Balls Deep is sponsored by Busted Nut Face and Body Lotion. Every bottle contains the extracts of over 1,000 busted nuts.
Wait a minute. So they're doing the whole episode or just the tip?
No, just the tip.
Okay, well, you said the whole episode.
Well, I mean, it all makes the episodes go.
Yeah,
it all makes it go.
puts money in those pockets.
Yeah,
all
that's
right.
exactly right.
So what is our tip today, Alan?
All right, our tip for the day is, we all have different problems in our lives.
Yes.
And some of the problems are bigger than others. Maybe you have a problem with just like you got toenail fungus, and that's real hard to cure.
Yeah.
But some people got big problems. Like, let's say you live in a little village in Mexico, and it's being taken over by a drug cartel.
Okay.
And they've taken your father, and they're holding him hostage. That's a big fucking problem.
Oh, my God.
Or maybe you live in the suburbs of Los Angeles, and there's a new gang that's moved in, and they're just wreaking havoc in your area.
Okay.
Well, I'm here to tell you guys that if you have a problem and no one else can help, and if you can find them, maybe you can hire the A-Team.
Are you serious? This is our tip? Hire
Yeah.
a 1980s sitcom crew? All those guys are like in their 70s now.
Yeah, well, they're still getting it done.
Yeah. Is Mr. T even still alive? I think he died.
No way Mr. T died.
Yeah.
Don't fucking get out of here with
No,
that.
for real.
How
I think he
dare
died.
you?
George Papard, he played Hannibal.
Yeah.
And
I'm prepared to believe that George Papard has died.
yeah, somebody watching
But
live
not-
needs to Google
certainly-
this shit and find out how many members of the A-Team are still physically
Certainly
on Earth.
not Dirk Benedict. Dude,
Yeah.
that guy,
I bet you he's living a pretty
I
good
bet you he
life.
still looks the same. I bet you he still gets his dick wet.
Let's
Dude,
hope
that
so.
guy, I mean, he was the charmer,
Yeah.
right? That's why they call him Face.
All
'cause
right.
he was-
So speaking of,
Yes.
of things, and
Sure.
right? So hey, today's podcast episode is about something that's been going on the headquarters. Now, the game has been out for about 7 months. Most people have played the shit out of it, and they've gotten to a point where the game is just too easy, and it doesn't matter what level they're on. They're still like, oh, I need new sliders. I need something. I'm playing on Heisman.
Right.
I'm winning by 50 points. Some fucking guy the other day posted on the page that he's playing on Heisman, and he's literally scoring like 200 and something points a game. And
that's a lot of points.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And
Yeah.
like that post went berserker.
Right.
Because everybody's like, oh, you're fucking lying. But
Yeah, of course.
the reality is some people are that good, or their team has gotten that good that the game just doesn't give them much of a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you've got a 99 overall team.
Sure.
And,
right. Well, I mean,
you're
I
always
used to
recruiting the best
play
players.
on like the older models on 13 and 14. Dude, it did not matter what was going on. I was going to win 99% of my games.
Right. Eventually you get that good at it.
Right.
Sure.
And so you have
I'm not there.
So you have to figure out ways to challenge yourselves. And that is the topic of today's episode. It's stay hard longer.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, how to keep it harder longer. And that is something that we can help with for all those people out there who are just looking for ways to make it hard.
Yeah. For longer.
Right.
That's right.
And so what have you done? Have you ever reached a point because we're now casuals.
Right.
So for me, the game's still actually hard because I'm only on like season 6 of my online dynasty. And I used to do that shit in like 2 weeks.
Right. So yeah, for me, like with 14, by 2022, I finally got to where I could step it up and play on Heisman because I was winning all the time. You know, that's the low-hanging fruit.
Sure.
Is if you're winning all the time on varsity, step it up to All-American.
Yeah.
On All-American, step it up to Heisman, and then start looking into sliders after that.
Sure. Well, see, I've always been a big believer that sliders are fool's gold.
In what way?
Right. So everybody thinks, oh, sliders, you got to play with like Operation Sports or whoever made these cool sliders. And, and if you're not playing with those sliders, then you're a bitch. Right. But
the only sliders I'm interested in come from White Castle. Yo, what's up?
Okay. Anyway. Yeah. So, yeah, but I think sliders, they are only a small part of fixing the problem.
All right.
So, yes, you can and should adjust sliders, especially things that make it a little bit more difficult for you by like lowering your quarterback's accuracy or your offensive line's pass blocking or run blocking, breaking tackles.
Things that you like find easy all the time.
Yeah.
Raise up that slider.
Yeah. Or lower that slider
on yours,
and then raise it
for the computer.
Right,
exactly.
To help close that gap.
Right.
But, dude, that is not nearly enough because there's not enough slider in the world to fix bad computer play.
Yeah, that's fair. And your own cheesy play that you do. And just going to the well again and again and again.
Right. And so eventually, the more you adjust sliders, proportionally, people will adjust how much money and cheese that they're calling. Right. They'll just use more cheese or more money more often to defeat the now harder sliders.
Right.
And so,
dude, that reminds it sounds like my diet that you're describing. Like more money equals more cheese.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I get it. Cheese is expensive. Not as expensive as eggs.
But no kidding.
But so, right.
Dude, when I used to work, I'm going to digress for a second.
Go ahead.
Because when I used to work at Little Caesars, I spent years working at Little Caesars Pizza. Shit, you worked there for a little while too. You were a delivery guy there.
Beer money.
Yeah, dude. Oh, those were the days. Although that was a terrible job.
Yeah.
But delivering wasn't that bad. But anyway, I actually was like the store manager for a while at Little Caesars. I was the big cheese. That's right. And I'll tell you guys, back in the day, Little Caesars had really shitty pizza, and they still do, but the ingredients were good. Mm-hmm. Like back in the day, we made the dough fresh every day in the store. We cut our own cheese. And we had like good quality toppings. The issue was they just didn't put enough on the pizza.
Yeah.
And so we would make our own pizzas. And dude, they were the fucking bomb.
Yeah.
They were so good. And that's where like now the extra most bestest, I should have saved this for Adjust the Tip, is that, dude, the extra most bestest, that's essentially the way we would make the pizzas for ourselves. Yeah. Just a little more cheese, a little more toppings, and it's good pizza, dude.
All right.
Yeah, that's good. Hey, I'll tell you something else.
Yeah.
Since I'm derailing the show. Yeah, fuck the show. Is back then, Little Caesars did a experiment with chicken wings. Were you there when they had chicken wings?
I used to steal those chicken wings like every day.
Dude, the wings were so good.
Yeah, the wings were really good.
Yeah, and so what we would do when we were making our own pizza is we would just shred the chicken wings.
Make a buffalo chicken pizza.
Yeah, make buffalo chicken pizza.
Thing.
Exactly. Yeah. We fucking invented buffalo chicken pizza at the Little Caesars on Valle Verde and Sunset.
Yeah.
And we deserve credit.
Yeah, we should get them to sponsor.
yeah, that's right. Dude, we should get royalties off of that.
Okay,
all right, so anyway, back on topic.
To it, though, right? So sliders, they aren't everything. Eventually, you have to do more than sliders. And one of the things I used to do for fun was come up with even more things to do to make it difficult.
Sure.
Right? And so one of the things that I recommend is you start to put restrictions on yourself. You police yourself. That's what I always said. Just police yourself.
Right. So you can set up like on your dynasties with the play cooldowns.
Sure.
Yeah. And for like in our online dynasty or the Dad's League, what is it? 4?
Yeah, 4.
4 plays in between. So like if you call a play, you have to go 4 plays before you can call it again.
Correct.
And then you can call a play a maximum of 4 times.
Correct.
Yeah, and I've never get to the cap on that.
No,
you probably
because
don't
now you adjust your play style accordingly. Right. So that you keep these plays just in case you need them.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Well, and
you build your playbook so that, I like to call the dive play.
Yeah.
So right, and I got 8 different formations with a dive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So we'll get into what I used to do as far as the suicide playbook that I came in a little bit more, but I got something else. So I think the first step.
My suicide playbook is probably pills. Yeah.
Yeah, that is a good way to go.
Yeah.
Right. So That's a dark ass topic, though. But let's
Okay.
try to keep it light here. Okay?
No, I got something else.
Yeah.
So
Good God. All right, go ahead.
So my wife and I each have life insurance
Yeah.
on each other, and the policy if I die is a lot bigger than if she dies.
Sure.
But we're talking about like estate planning, and we don't have enough money that we need to worry about it. But we got no kids, and so it's not like obvious what would happen.
Yeah.
If I die, everything goes to her. Oh yeah.
If you want to list me
Anthony's
as a
pointing at himself.
beneficiary.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And if she dies, everything goes to me because it's all common property.
Uh-huh.
But she says, "What if we both die at the same time?"
Anthony
And I'm like,
Scafacci.
"Babe, we're not going to both die at the same time. It's not realistic." And she says, "Well, we could be in like a plane crash or a car
Yeah,
crash or
these
something
things
could
happen."
happen." And I said, "Babe, if we die at the same time, the way I've always pictured it is murder-suicide."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, even that doesn't necessarily happen simultaneously.
No, but it's close enough.
But close enough.
Yeah.
So if you want to add me as a beneficiary, I'm good with it.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah.
After I murder her, suddenly I don't feel nearly as suicidal anymore.
Let's hope she never listens to this. Yeah. So okay. So
All right.
anyway.
So suicide playbook.
Yeah. So we'll get to that in a minute.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's
so,
right.
But what I would like to talk about is one of the ways that you can help yourself is to limit your recruiting, right? So
Okay.
one thing you could do is say like, well, I'm only going to recruit maybe in-state or only pipeline states.
Okay.
Or I'm only going to recruit from like this big pipeline state
Sure.
or another and things like that. So if you limit your recruiting, that will limit the amount of talent that comes in,
Right.
which that will eventually help to slow your team down.
It kind of caps the team's talent available.
Well, to some extent.
It depends on how much you limit your recruiting.
It
like
depends,
if
yeah.
you're in Wyoming and you limit yourself to only Wyoming recruits,
that
you're going
is
to have
gonna
like a
be
one-star team.
Exactly. It's going to
Yeah.
be really, really difficult. Maybe
Right.
you get a few 3-star guys and so on.
Yeah.
And that is something that some people do is they make like specialty dynasties where they're like, I'm only going to recruit Idaho.
Yeah.
And like, okay,
sure.
man, that shit's going to be hard.
Yeah,
Like, you're not going
it
to get a
is.
bunch of super good players out of there.
Right.
Right. So that's one thing you can do to challenge yourself is to limit your recruiting, narrow it down to a couple of different states, different things like that. And that in itself will.
The other one that I see frequently is that people limit the star rating. Like if I have a 2-star team,
Then
I can only recruit 2-star recruits, or
and
maybe
so
2 and 3-star.
That's
Yeah.
another good idea,
Right.
right? And there's all these different variations of that same idea, but that is one thing that I do recommend is limit your own recruiting if you've gotten to a point where it's too easy, because the reality is there's a tipping point. Once your team reaches a certain overall rating, you're just going to win without even your help. I mean, you could sim and you're going to win.
And don't get us wrong. Like if you are into that, if
go
you
for
like winning, dude, then just keep kicking the computer's ass and keep it fresh by trying to score over 100 every game.
Or
whatever
try to
you
break
want to
your
do.
own records and things
Yeah,
like that.
stuff
There's
like that.
all these different ways you could go.
Yeah, that's fun.
But yeah,
I'll tell you what I do to keep it fun even after it's kind of gotten old is you got to do little things to jazz it up. Like I like the way I run my team. It's always these really long drives, 12 plays, 15 plays, 17 play drives. And so what I like to do, dude, I know.
Yeah.
And what kills me is like you do a 15 play drive and then it ends in a field goal.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, all that work.
Yeah.
But so what I'll do is at the beginning of the drive, I take a belt and I put it around my neck. And then I try to time it out.
This
that
episode,
right as I'm crossing the goal line, I'm passing out. And, oh, it's so satisfying.
Dude, things have gotten really dark here on this episode. Yeah. We put a live camera on you, and God only knows. What's
when
gonna
just
happen.
regular play doesn't do it for you anymore.
Yeah,
you got to really amp things
you gotta
up.
to start doing some really masochistic shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and that's kind of what this is into, right?
It is kind of masochistic because you're intentionally making it more difficult.
Yeah,
for
right.
yourself.
You're trying to hurt yourself, and so another thing you can do, right, is you limit your tough. Like, so a lot of people will make their schedule so that a team that is better than their team will come to their house to try to even it out.
Sure.
No, go play at the schools where it is tough to win.
Right.
Because that
go
is
to Tennessee, go to Ohio State,
right?
places like that.
It's going to make it harder. And then now we're going to get into something that is part of the recruiting, and it's something that is absolutely busted in this game, and it's been forever.
No.
Athletes.
Oh, dude.
Right?
They are
so
overpowered.
You want to really restrict your recruiting?
Yeah, no athletes.
No athletes.
No athletes.
Right?
Yeah.
Just none. Zero.
Right. Hey, if you can't figure out what position you want to play, I don't want you.
Right? Yeah, if you're
You
not
got to have
smart
your
enough,
shit together.
you got to tell me what position you play.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So, yeah, limit your athletes. Now, I know everybody out there is going to probably be like, no, fuck that. Because the athletes are probably the most fun because they're the most busted.
Yeah.
Right? Because you could have an athlete that's like a physical wide receiver who's like 6'2", 215 pounds. Put that motherfucker at like outside linebacker and he's got 94 speed. And
Right.
dude,
right.
yeah. And those guys are just destructive.
Yeah, there are things that I like to do. We've talked about on previous episodes. Like I like to take a really big, but like an agile offensive lineman, put him at tight end or fullback. But it's a trade-off because the dude's going to drop a lot more passes, and he's not going to get open on that corner route.
Yeah,
he's
like,
never going to outrun anybody.
Athlete linebacker, athlete safety, athlete quarterback. All those things you can really...
Yeah, and so that's what we're saying is like the ones where there is no trade-off.
Yeah.
Like if you just take that super speed guy and put him at outside
and
linebacker.
it's just all bennies.
Yeah, it's all benefit. Right,
Yeah.
don't do that.
Exactly. Just don't do that kind of thing.
The things that you know that manipulate and take advantage of the computer's weaknesses, the things that there's just only so much programming.
Sure.
And it's a failing of the computer. Don't do those things.
Yeah. So that's another thing.
Right.
Is just don't have those type of players. Just don't recruit them. And then you can go one step further. If you really hate yourself,
Yeah.
right? Let the computer do all your recruiting. Right? Yeah. If you let the computer do all your recruiting, including adding guys to the board and removing guys to the board, you'll want to take a stapler to your own nutsack,
Right.
like every fucking week, because
I can't even.
the computer will never get you what you want. It barely will get you what you need.
Yeah.
And your recruiting classes will be a dumpster fire.
Dude.
And you want to add years to a playable dynasty, just let the computer do the recruiting.
That frustrates the shit out of me just thinking about it.
Wait till you're playing.
Right.
And you're like, I really, really need to get a middle linebacker.
Right.
I'm going to have nobody. And they're getting 7 punters. Right? And you're like, I hope one of these punters can play middle linebacker.
Oh,
when that
dude.
stuff starts happening, or
Right.
they get you like a 1-star guy, and you're like, dude, we could have got. I would have gotten 3 or 4-star middle linebacker on my own.
Yeah.
And they're only getting 1 and 2-star guys.
Right. Especially if you're a bad team.
Oh.
Like, doesn't the computer know there's infinity 3-star
No,
players
it
out
doesn't.
there?
And it won't even go after them. So yeah, if you start like a dynasty at a bad school, and then allow the computer to recruit from day 0.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
you're
gonna stay bad for a while.
school for a long. Even it doesn't matter if you win, you're still
Right.
going to be bad. So that's another thing. Now, finally,
Yeah.
we'll get to
the suicide playbook.
the suicide playbook.
Right.
Right. I also did suicide recruiting, but fuck it, just let the computer recruit.
What? All right. Let's just briefly explain what suicide
recruiting was at the preseason.
Oh yeah.
You add your full
You fill your board
prospect
once.
board
Yep.
one time.
Yep.
If you lose a guy, he's gone. If he doesn't sign with you, he's gone. If he's a bust, he's gone. You only get 35 shots.
Right.
And you sign
whoever you
whatever
put on your
can.
board at the beginning of the season, they're staying there.
And what that does
And you don't
is
replace
it
them.
forces you to do need over greed.
Right? Yeah,
right?
sure.
Because what happens is normally if you lose this 5-star guy you're going after, you just replace him with a 4-star guy.
Right.
Or a 3-star guy or
Yeah.
whatever. Well, now if you put that reach of a 4 or 5-star guy on your board and you don't get him, that's one less shot down to 34.
Yeah.
Down 33, 32,
Right.
31.
You wind up signing a recruiting class of 10 people.
Yeah, or like 13 or 14 people
Right.
until you start to adjust for need versus greed.
Right.
So that will also slow you down.
Yeah, dude, that's good. I like that. All
Yeah.
right, so suicide playbook.
So the suicide playbook was something I came up with once I really started to hate myself for winning. And what it was a playbook based on how long each quarter was. So if you played 5-minute quarters, you had a max of 60 offensive plays. If you played 6-minute quarters, it was 80 plays. And then 100 plays and so on. For every minute, you add 20 more plays that you can have. And so I used to play 6-minute quarters. So my playbook had 80 offensive plays. That's it.
Right.
Then you can only call each play one time.
Dude.
So with play cooldowns and play limits that are in this game, you can set it up that way. However,
So it's automatic, yeah.
But now it affects your defense too. And so now you could only call your defense one time.
That wouldn't work on defense,
dude. It would be really hard.
Yeah,
to
that
do
would
it on
be
defense.
very difficult. You'd have to have so many formations, I guess.
Yeah, well, you'd have to have so many formations so that you could essentially run like man cover 2 7 times or 8 times.
Right.
But if you only have 80 plays on defense to choose from, it's really, really hard. Well, so what that does is that would eliminate money.
Sure.
And cheese. I mean, maybe you throw some cheese in there, but you're only calling that cheese play one time.
Right.
And if it doesn't work,
if you've got this blitz that works every time, well, you better save it for that big third down.
And so what winds up happening is when you would play this way, when I would play my suicide playbook, is I would say, like my mom always taught me, save your money. Right?
Oh, yeah, there you go.
So I would, the plays I deemed the least effective out of that 80, that would be like my first quarter plays. Then my second quarter plays. And as I got deeper into the game, I would also get better into the playbook. But what this usually meant was early in the game, I would be trailing.
Right.
Because I'm running less efficient plays.
Right, because you're trying to save those
because
for
I'm
when
saving
you really
those
need
money
them.
plays for when I
the
really
big
need
situations.
them.
Right.
Right. And so I'd almost always play games that would come down to the final drive. Almost always. Either offensively or defensively.
Right.
It came down to the final drive.
Yeah.
Because, dude, you're only calling this play one time. If it doesn't work out, that's gone.
Right.
And so that, to me, was like, now I get it. I'm biased to myself or whatever. But to me, that was like the gold standard of making this fucking game hard. Right. You could I had sliders. I had, at the time, I had custom sliders. I had basically the computer doing all my recruiting. This was the Jelly series.
Right.
And I used the Suicide Playbook.
Yeah, there you go.
And so, like, you would hear people be like, oh, you got to do like the Death Sentence Dynasty.
Right.
You know, and I would be like, and even that's bullshit.
Yeah, because it's only hard for like the first 2 seasons. And then you're back to being a normal
It's not
team.
even... They get fired. They know they're going to get fired.
Right.
Then they start a new coach, and then it just picks up as normal, and they would just...
Right. So explain briefly to our listeners what the death sentence was.
So the death sentence was you would basically simulate a season.
Right.
At the end of that season, you would cut everybody on your roster.
Right.
And then...
It gets filled with walk-ons.
And then it would get filled with walk-ons.
Right.
And then that's when you would start your dynasty.
Right. So your team would be like a 42 overall.
Yeah, they'd be absolutely terrible.
Right.
And just have walk-ons at every position. And so then usually in season 1, or in your actual play season 1, people would go over. They'd lose every game, but then the coach would get fired.
Right.
And then they'd start a new coach and pick up from there.
Right.
And then they'd be like, look, my death sentence team, I just won the Natty in year 5. So what?
Yeah, because it's all new players by then.
Yeah, it's all new players.
Right.
Doesn't matter.
Dude, I have that with a dynasty I'm doing with a created team that was a cupcake. And the first season was really tough. But the school has some things going for it.
Sure.
And by the second season, it went from like a 71 overall to an 83 overall just with the first recruiting class.
Exactly. Well, and that's what happens is in these death sentences. Yeah, I mean, look, dude, it's a cool thing to do. I'm not saying don't do it or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, if you think that's what hard is, it's not, man. It's not. It's not as hard as it sounds. And
it's hard that first season.
It's hard that
You're
first
definitely
season.
going to lose. Yeah.
Yeah, and if people just, when they got fired, said, that's it, I'm going to start over.
Right.
Now we're talking, because now you got to survive. But everybody knows they're not going to survive.
Yeah, of course.
And so therefore, it's only as hard as it sounds.
Right.
Right. And so, so that's it. So that's different ways that you can stay harder longer. And if you go. Look, if the game stays hard for more than 4 hours,
I'll call it off.
Yeah, you got to call it off.
Got to call it off.
Right? That's kind of a tired joke, but I still like it. I think it's
all
funny.
right. Yeah, it's a good one.
All right. So we are coming up to the end of this episode.
That we are.
And I know we have a sponsor. It's a sponsor I'm very excited for.
It's another new sponsor.
It's another new sponsor.
Dude, we are making strides
here.
Yeah,
and this one I am very, very excited for.
Uh-huh.
Tell me who it is. Tell the audience who it is.
Yeah, it is Strawberry Week Moon Cups.
Moon Cups.
Yeah. So... Anthony, do you know what moon cups
I do know
are?
what a moon cup is.
Why don't you fill our listeners
in?
Because a lot of them might not know.
Yep. Is used by women when they're on their period in place of a tampon or a pad.
Right.
And they catch the blood in it, and then they hand it to their husband who does a shooter. Wait, that's
yeah,
not
I
it?
think that's right.
Yeah,
I'm
okay,
pretty
yeah,
sure
oh,
that's
yeah,
right.
okay, good. That's what I
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah.
Wait.
It says it right on the pack.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a little drinking cup, and it's 1 ounce.
Right.
And
yeah.
you, boom, you bang it out. You bang it
That's
back.
it.
That's how you tell your wife you love her.
Yeah.
Right?
If you really loved your wife, that's what you would do. With
Yeah.
it. I love all of you, babe.
That's what I say for everybody out there. That's what
Yeah.
you're supposed to do.
All right,
But
well,
yeah,
let's see
it's
what
a
the
real
ad-
thing. It's called a moon.
Yeah,
cup.
a moon cup is a real thing. So
Yeah.
let's see what Strawberry Week, what their ad copy has
Okay.
to say. Fellow listeners, do you find your ladies' visits from Aunt Flo to be overwhelming? Do the prices of feminine products have you seeing red? Do you worry about the environmental impact of free bleeding?
Oh, free bleeding is so free bleeding.
Plus, it
is-
attracts bears.
Yeah, there's women that do free bleeding.
Yeah.
That they use nothing. It just goes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just
and
let it run down their leg.
It is dangerous though because of bears.
Because it
sharks.
attracts bears. Yeah, sharks too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and fucking wolverines.
Dude, you get anywhere within
honey
like
badger.
a few hundred yards of the ocean,
Yeah.
and you're in danger of sharks.
Yeah, eels.
Yeah. All right. So moving on. Say goodbye to expensive and disposable products like crammers and sanitary pads.
That seems like another one of our sponsors.
It does. Yeah.
Crammers.
Yeah, that's a slang word for
okay.
Guess which feminine product is a crammer?
Tampoon?
Yeah, you cram it up in there.
Oh
Yeah, it's
my
called a
God.
crammer.
Dude, that's
Yeah.
so
Hey.
wrong.
Take it up with the advertiser.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
come
no,
on.
I
Don't
didn't
knock
write
our
this.
advertisers. That's right. Say hello to, or say goodbye to expensive and disposable products like crammers and sanitary pads, and say hello to moon cups from Strawberry Week. Our handy step-by-step guide shows you how to properly insert our moon cups using nothing more than a willing partner and a glass coffee table.
Oh God. Keep going.
And once
Yeah.
the cup fills up, simply discard the fluid into a sealed container and take it to any nearby facility that processes industrial waste. Or I guess if you
Yeah.
really love your
Yeah,
wife,
you can just
do the
drink it.
shooter.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you just do a shooter. Yeah. If
Nothing-
you throw an oyster in there, it's like a Bloody Mary one.
Yeah. Or a little beer. You got a chelada now.
Yeah, get the rim, salt the rim of that thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
Michelada style.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Yeah. Strawberry Week moon cups, saving the world one cup at a time.
Oh man, I am
that's
so
a
glad.
sponsor.
Yeah, and so people say that women don't listen to this show, but that's not true. They
Yeah.
do.
Obviously.
Right? They now.
Otherwise, we wouldn't have sponsors.
Otherwise, we wouldn't have.
Well,
a
I mean,
sponsor.
right at the front of the copy, it says, "Does your ladies visits from Aunt Flo?" So maybe they do know that it's for men. But dude,
Yeah.
I mean, somebody's got to be part of that team.
Yeah, well, you got to go to the
somebody's
store
got
and
to
get
be
'em.
under the coffee table.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
You
exactly.
know?
This is a team effort.
Yeah.
All right. So, everybody, this is another episode of Balls Deep. I want to thank you guys for listening. I want to remind you to like, subscribe, follow, leave a rating on the podcast, help us out, spread the word. Do your duty out there, guys in the sack. And remember, if you want to reach us, you could reach us at reachballsdeep@gmail.com. If you need a sponsor sticker, reach out to me personally. I will make sure to get one mailed out to you. And that is going to be it for Anthony Scafacci, for Alan Gigax. We are out.